Betting on me. It's time to get it checked, boy. You on the sideline, you ain't made the headlines, now it's time to reject, boy. You betting on me. What's the topic of discussion? What you talking about? Take your best shot, I'ma take the last shot. I'm Jordan in the clutch, boy. You betting on me. It's time to get it checked, boy. You on the sideline, you ain't made the headlines, now it's time to reject, boy. You betting on me. What's the topic of discussion? What you talking about? Take your best shot, I'ma take the last shot. I'm Jordan in the clutch, boy. Look, you betting on me? I can tell by your laugh.
Alrighty, guys, that was Pull Up Tay on the intro, and you know what that means. It is time now for another episode of the Auto Bid. I am Aaron Robinson, and I am joined, as always, by my twin brother Andrew. So, Andrew, man, how you doing today, Brody?
Doing great, man. Currently on this FIBA break over here in Portugal, man. So, got some time off. Got to rest my body a little bit. Got to stay up late last night, watching the Gonzaga UCLA game. So, time well spent, even though it was 3, 4 in the morning up here. I'm starting to realize it's probably going to be a regular occurrence for me, man, with some of these primetime games I'd like to have on. But, it's all good, man. College basketball is back, so can't ask for much more.
Not for sure, man. You are a soldier, man. If I was you, I definitely would have probably called it quits a little early the way Gonzaga blew that game open last night, man. But I definitely commend you for staying up that late, man. We have a fun episode for you guys today. Obviously, we're going to be joined by George Papas. Obviously, he's a fifth-year guard at Monmouth, a first-team All-MAC selection this year in the MAC. Monmouth is off to a great start this season. Obviously, just picked up a win over St. Joe's the other day. Obviously, Monmouth is now off to a 3-1 start in MAC play. They're actually going to play against Princeton tonight at 7 p.m. So by the time you guys are tuning into this podcast, Monmouth will be tipping off against Princeton. So make sure you guys go ahead and stay tuned to my guy, George Papas, and what he got going over there at Monmouth. But before we get into the pod today, man, definitely want to remind you guys, as always, make sure you guys are, engaging with our content, man. Make sure you guys are subscribing to our podcast on Apple Music, on Spotify. If you haven't already, make sure you check out our episode from last week. That episode is on YouTube. We had Devontae ticket gains from George Mason on last week. Obviously, George Mason was able to get the historic win over the University of Maryland, their first in program history. Obviously, their first-year head coach, Kim English, is off to a good start over there in Northern Virginia, man. So definitely make sure you guys go out and check out that interview if you haven't already. Again, it's on our YouTube channel, not on Spotify or Apple Music, but we'll have that up on Spotify and Apple Music in the coming days here. But like I said, man, we are definitely excited. Start back into some college basketball today, man. We released our Week 3 mid-major rankings on Tuesday, man. And as always, there's some controversial picks, man. So we want to go ahead and dive right into that, man. So I'll toss it over to Drew, man, to get you guys started on our Week 3 mid-major top 25 rankings.
Yes, sir. So, man, for those who have not seen them yet, make sure you go over to Twitter to check those out, man. But for the listeners, we had a new number 1 in the rankings this week, man. BYU overtook that number 1 spot. The Cougars are still undefeated. They got a 40-point victory over Oregon, which, allowed us to kind of, give them that bump over St. Bonaventure, who comes in at the number 2 spot, despite winning the Charleston Classic this week. They played great, so with no slight to the Bonnies as far as why they dropped, but more so props to BYU. I think that, they obviously also made their debut in top 25 this year. So those are our top 2 teams. We got a little Chicago at 3, who just suffered their first loss of the season to Michigan State on a lob. But nonetheless, those guys are going to be an NCAA tournament team. They're the favorite out of the Missouri Valley. We have Colorado State at 4, checking in from the Mountain West. Then we have St. Mary's 5, Santa Clara 6, and San Francisco 7, which makes 3 straight WCC teams, 4 total in our top 7. So, we're going to show BYU, St. Mary's, Santa Clara, San Francisco. Yep. Yeah, 4 in the top 7. Obviously, we didn't include Gonzaga, or they would be 5, but we got 4 out of the top 7. We're going to talk a lot about the WCC later in the podcast, but then we got Drake coming in at 8, still undefeated out of the Missouri Valley, Ohio at 9, San Diego State 10, Chattanooga 11, Utah State 12, South Dakota State 13, UAB 14, Iona 15, New Mexico State 16, Buffalo 17, Miami of Ohio 18, UC San Diego 19, Wyoming 20, Richmond 21, Murray State 22, Louisiana 23, Vermont 24, and Belmont at 25 to round out week 3 of our mid-major top 25 poll. So, Ace, man, you know, what are your thoughts with the list this week?
Yeah, man, I think the biggest takeaway was, you know, definitely the WCC, man, made a statement, man. St. Mary's obviously going to have an opportunity to make another statement as they're going to take on Wisconsin today at 5 p.m. So by the time you guys do this podcast, Wisconsin and St. Mary's will be tipping off in the Jim Maui Invitational, man. But, you know, St. Mary's obviously was able to get a win over Oregon last night. They beat them by 12 points. We mentioned BYU. I mean, beat the crap out of Oregon a few days ago, 81-49, beat them boys by almost 40 points. And I mean, the WCC has looked great. We don't even need to talk about Gonzaga. They are not concluded on this list because, for obvious reasons, I mean, those dudes are simply not a mid-major program, but obviously they compete in the WCC. And like Drew mentioned, man, if Gonzaga was not, you know, if Gonzaga was in this ranking, we would have 5 WCC teams in the top 8 of our rankings, man. I mean, that league has gotten off to an amazing start. The top 5 teams in that conference, obviously Gonzaga, St. Mary's, San Francisco, BYU, and Santa Clara are off to a combined 27-0 start. I mean, they haven't lost a game yet. So I mean, that league is definitely off to a hot start, man. And another big takeaway I think was Utah State, obviously making a return to our top 25. Actually, it might be their debut. I don't think we had them in our initial top 25, but they were a team that kind of had a lot of question marks coming into this season with, you know, Ryan Odom obviously being in his first year at the helm. He brings over 2 transfers from UMBC. And they dropped their first game. Then they won 3 straight, and they are now back obviously in our top 5. In our rankings, coming in at number 12 in our top 25. Man, those guys obviously was able to get a few huge wins this week in their tournament, capping off with a win over Oklahoma. So their return to our top 25 is something that definitely is going to be noted. Drew and I definitely had a spirited debate yesterday off camera whether they should be ranked ahead of South Dakota State or not. It was my opinion that I think South Dakota State deserved to get that nod over them. But Drew, you know, felt like Utah State should get the nod, man. And I'm not too mad at them. Obviously, you know, that they had, you know, a great showing down there in Myrtle Beach, and picked up a 30-point victory over New Mexico State, beat UPenn in a double overtime battle by 8 points. And then they were able to pick up a 3-point win in the championship over Oklahoma, man. So they've had a great bounce back after dropping their first game to UC Davis, man. Also, they had to pick up an 11-point win against Richmond, who's obviously, you know, one of the better teams in the A-10, man. So, you know, they've now won 4 straight and have made their, you know, reappearance back in our rankings, man. And, you know, they might be here to stay, man, because their non-conference schedule isn't that tricky, man. They're going to play UT Arlington. Then they got a game against Carroll from Montana. Then they're going to play St. Mary's. And that's gonna be a big question mark. Oh, and they're going to play BYU as well. 2 WCC teams that are both in the top 5 of our rankings, man. So we're going to find out a lot about those guys coming up here in the next few weeks as far as the legitimacy of Utah State, man. But definitely good to see them back in the rankings, man. The Mountain West needed them to kind of have a resurgent week after Nevada has been, you know, rather underwhelming start to their season, man. And Boise obviously is also not in our top 25 rankings, been a little bit disappointing as well. So Utah State and San Diego State are the 2 teams representing the Mountain West right now, and also Wyoming, obviously coming in at 20. They're also off to an undefeated start so far in the Mountain West, man. We had to show them some respect and throw them in the top 25 as well, man. So the West Coast, man, is looking strong right now, man. And WCC in the Mountain West right now are off to great starts, man. So those are probably the biggest 2 takeaways from our week 3 rankings.
Yeah, I think most people would agree that Colorado State is probably the best team in the Mountain West right now, just based on how they've started. I don't think San Diego State is far behind, but I think hit the nail on the head with Utah State, man. With Nevada off to a slow start, a lot of people picked them to win the Mountain West this year, you know, given, you know, what they returned from last year's team, man. But they've gotten off to a very, very slow start. So I think it's great for the Mountain West to have Utah State, you know, back playing good basketball. But I think, like you said, man, they have 2 very tough games coming up against St. Mary's and against BYU out of WCC that will, like you said, tell us a lot, you know, about this Utah State team. But, you know, for me, as far as them versus South Dakota State, you know, I gave the edge to Utah State just simply off of, you know, their schedule so far. You know, you already mentioned their win over Oklahoma. They beat New Mexico State, who was a top 25 team in our mid-major poll. You know, they beat Richmond, who was a top 25 team in our mid-major poll. And then obviously to go get a win over a Porter Moser squad, a team that's probably going to be, competitive, I would think, in the Big 12 this year. I think that says a lot about this Utah State team. But like I said on Twitter, man, South Dakota State, they're going to have a lot of opportunities, to change my mind. But, for me, I'm a guy that, rewards, the big-time wins. I think that just so far, Utah State has played, a better schedule, and they've done, a lot to win the games that they've had in front of them. Even Penn, UPenn is no slouch, so the 4 wins that they do have are 4 very strong, quality wins. Penn's going to be one of the best teams in the Ivy, as they always are. They're probably going to be right around that top 4 range. So, I think for Utah State, man, you have 4 quality wins to start the season, which is why, I give them the nod over South Dakota State.
And I mean, I'm not too mad at that. And South Dakota State definitely took a little bump the other night because they lost to Washington. Washington is not a bad team, but definitely not off to the slowest start. But they're starting to turn around a little bit. Obviously, they beat George Mason. They beat South Dakota State. So they're going to play Nevada in the last game of this little crossover classic out there in Vegas, man. But I just really like South Dakota State, man. Obviously, everybody knows about Baylor Shyman, man. He's averaging a double-double this season at 13 points and 10 rebounds a game, shooting 60% from 3, 50% from the floor. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the entire country out of the Summer League. And then you got 2 guys that are averaging more points than him. In Noah Friedel, who's averaging 19 a game, and then Douglas Wilson, who's averaging 15 and 5. Man, I mean, this team is really, really good, man. They probably would have won the Summer League last year had they not run into Oral Roberts, who got extremely hot last year with Max Asmus. I'm blanking on the other guys. Kevin O'Banner, excuse me, that was Texas Tech. But had they not run into those guys last year in the tournament, they could have gone dancing. Man, they were a team that definitely, a lot of people seen, could have potentially made a run to the second weekend, man. So, like you said, man, we're gonna find a lot about these teams coming up. So, South Dakota State is they're gonna play George Mason tonight at 9:30 in the last game of that crossover classic. So, if they can get a win over George Mason, who's been struggling, honestly. I know we're gonna talk about them in a little bit, man. They're off to an 0-2 start in that crossover classic. Also dropped one to James Madison. They've now lost 3 straight after beating Maryland, man. But we'll see, man. We'll see. I think come March, we're gonna have to pull the tape on this, and we're gonna be saying how good South Dakota State is. You got to give me a rightful apology on your take on South Dakota State.
I mean, listen, man. I'm not saying that they're not a good team. They are a great team. I think that, for me, it's just, like I said, man, this is not the March ranking. This is not, the April ranking. This isn't the NCAA tournament ranking. This is our week 3 All Facts Media rankings. There's going to be, they are subject to change, which means that each week we will reevaluate the teams. As of right now, week 3, I had Utah State above South Dakota State, strictly off of the wins. But that's not saying that South Dakota State can, find their way up in the poll later on, man. But I do want to switch gears a little bit, man, talk about the WCC. Because, I mean, like we mentioned, man, they're off to the top of the league is off to a 27-0 start, man. And, I mean, shoot, the WCC has had their way, with the Pac-12 over the last couple of days. I mean, BYU and St. Mary's get wins over Oregon. Gonzaga gets a win over UCLA, who's the Pac-12 favorite. Santa Clara gets a win over Stanford. I mean, everybody's just pretty much having their way with the WCC. I hope they don't forget anybody. Shoot. Did San Francisco beat anybody from the Pac-12? I mean, let me go check that. But I mean, as of right now, the WCC is looking like the best conference, on the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it looks like they're better than the Pac-12, obviously based on the wins. I mean, it's crazy because shout out to Field 68, but Jeff Goodman and they were talking about this, man. You can make an argument that the top 5 teams in the WCC are better than the top 5 teams in the ACC. And based on what Gonzaga did last night, and based on what BYU, St. Mary's, like I said, Santa Clara has done so far, that might not be that crazy of a statement, man. But definitely got to show the WCC, some major love, man, because they're looking like they're going to be a 3, potentially 4 bid league come March.
For sure, the WCC is definitely has been running through everybody right now, or at least the top 5 teams in that league. We mentioned that they're combined 27-0, and I don't think that's even a crazy statement to make, just given that. First of all, if you look at the best team in the WCC, the best team in the ACC, you're going to have Gonzaga and Duke, who is going to play on Friday. So we're going to find out, a lot about both of those teams on Friday. But I think most would agree that the Gonzaga is a better team at this point in time in the season. Then you go BYU. Who's the second best team in the ACC? Is it Virginia Tech? I mean, I think that's probably the safest bet to assume that it's Virginia Tech. I think I would take BYU over Virginia Tech today if they were to match up. And St. Mary's, I don't even know who the best team in the ACC is. I mean, is it Florida State? I mean, is it Wake Forest sitting here right now 5-0? Is it Steve Forbes and Wake Forest? I mean, we really do not know who the third best team in the ACC is. Let's say, for gentlemen's sake, it's Florida State. I think I would take St. Mary's over Florida State if they were to play today, man. And then you go with Santa Clara, who's already got wins over Stanford. A team like San Francisco, who's got wins over Davidson, man, is undefeated right now. I mean, the WCC is off to an amazing start, man. They're gonna have opportunities, come NCAA tournament time, come conference play time. I think if you're Santa Clara, I think St. Mary's, BYU, and Gonzaga should all, Gonzaga definitely comfortably in. BYU's top 25 team, they should be comfortably in. But I think if you're St. Mary's, they should, I think they'll be comfortably in when it's all said and done. So if you're a Santa Clara and you're a St. Mary and you're a San Francisco, if you can knock off a BYU or St. Mary's, once or twice in conference play, now you're in business. You know what I'm saying? St. Mary's, we mentioned, obviously is going to have an opportunity versus Wisconsin today to really put themselves, on the national forefront. And they can pick up another win over a Big Ten opponent this time, man. But I think for Santa Clara and San Francisco, if they can kind of hold serve in the non-conference, keep picking up some quality wins, and then they go on to conference play, and you can beat a St. Mary's or a BYU once. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anybody's gonna beat Gonzaga, but it gives the WCC a real chance. I don't think they get 5, because I think that's just a lot to ask of the WCC. But I think 4 is very realistic for that conference this year.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think they'll get 5 teams in, but 3 is looking pretty safe, and I think it's possible, that they could get 4. I think the question is going to be if Santa Clara or San Francisco can kind of maintain. I think that the tough part is, I think we most people would agree that Gonzaga, BYU, and St. Mary's are the best 3 teams. So the problem is going to be if those 3 teams just steamroll San Francisco and Santa Clara, I think they'll knock them out. Like you mentioned, I mean, the best thing that can happen is honestly if St. Mary's can beat Wisconsin tonight and show the strength of the WCC, and then Santa Clara and San Francisco can kind of use the strength of the league and how well they're playing right now and try to beat some of those teams in conference play. I think that'll be their best to the tournament. But I mean, I think right now, man, I think we're looking at pretty comfortably a 3-bid WCC, come tournament time, and we'll see if they can get a 4th team in. If they do, man, then I mean, I think that'll speak volumes to just how far that league has come. Everybody pretty much knows about Gonzaga and how they pretty much steamrolled the WCC the last couple of years, and I don't know if it's going to be a cakewalk through the WCC this year, man. Especially when you have to see BYU, especially when you're going to see a battle test the St. Mary's team, and then an up and coming San Francisco team as well, man. So we'll see. And if I remember correctly, I don't want to misspeak. Excuse me. San Francisco had an opportunity to beat Gonzaga last year at home, and I think they kind of just gave it up late in the game, man. But I think that Gonzaga, I don't know, man. I'm not going to say they're going to lose in the WCC, but I mean, this is not the WCC that we all have come to be familiar with in recent years, man. There's going to be some tough games this year for Gonzaga when they travel to some of these other teams this year.
For sure, man. I mean, I think the pathway for both of those teams, for Santa Clara and San Francisco, is going to be in the league because, I mean, if you're Santa Clara, you have a good win over Stanford, obviously, early in the year. You pounded Nevada by 22. You beat TCU by 20, which is a good one. Hopefully that one will look a little better come Big 12 play. You're going to play Cal, not a very good Pac-12 team. You can't lose that game. And then you're going to play Boise State. So I think Santa Clara is going to have more of an opportunity than San Francisco to kind of move up the ladder. If they can beat Cal, they can beat Boise State, and then you go on to the league play and you make some noise there, man. I think they're going to have a real chance to solidify not to solidify their chance, but if you take care of business in that Cal game, in that Cal game, in that Boise State game, you already have one against TCU by 20, already have one against Stanford. I think it makes your case a lot stronger if you're able to pick up a win over a BYU or a St. Mary's. For San Francisco, their non-conference isn't that impressive. I mean, you have a 5-point win against Davidson, you have a 3-point win against Nevada. You're gonna play UNLV, who look pretty good down there in Las Vegas. But then after that, I mean, you're gonna play Arizona State, who's 2-2 right now. You can't lose that game if you're San Francisco. I mean, I think if you lose that game, it's gonna be a lot tougher Then you get into league play, man. And that's where the crux of their argument is going to have to be made. Is going to be beating the St. Mary's, beating the BYU. So we'll see what happens, man. I mean, I think the best thing that in non-conference you're rooting for other leagues. I mean, you're rooting for other teams in your league, right? So you're rooting for all the St. Mary's and the Gonzaga and BYU's keep winning to keep pushing those computer numbers up because come March when you're looking at them compared to other leagues, I think another thing that's going to help them is that other leagues this year, like for example, the A10 is creeping toward one bid territory. I mean, I think St. Bonaventure we know is at large caliber, but after that, it gets very, very spooky for the A10. I mean, George Mason, played themselves off of the at large conversation this weekend. Richmond, I think is probably out of the at large conversation. They've already got 2 losses early on. Lost to Utah State, who's a good team. They lost to Drake. But they don't really have any quality wins. You know what I'm saying? They're going to have an opportunity. They're playing Maryland Thursday at 7 p.m. That's going to be an opportunity for them to kind of make a statement. But Maryland actually lost to George Mason. They haven't looked impressive. They struggle with GW, struggle with Hofstra, struggle with Vermont. So, we don't know how that game is even going to look. If Richmond's able to even beat Maryland, how that loss is going to look come March, where we're not sure. They have Northern Iowa, who's been underwhelming. They're playing Wofford. Wofford's a good team, but to the committee, that's not going to be like you mentioned last week, these quad 1 win. Wofford's not going to be a quad 1 win. I think Richmond right now is looking like winning the A10 or bust, which means that the A10 is really a 1-bid league, right? So now that opens up another league to get to steal a bid, right? So if you're the WCC and you typically get 2 or 3 teams, now you might be able to get 3 or 4 teams in there because the other leagues aren't as good. We don't know what's going to happen, obviously, with the Missouri Valley. Obviously, right now it looks like they're in good shape to get 2 bids in. But if Drake, or obviously Loyola just lost to Michigan State, which would have been a great opportunity for them to kind of build their resume. They lost that game today early on, man. So we don't know what the Missouri Valley is going to look like. We don't know what the Mountain West is going to look like. Obviously, we mentioned a little bit Nevada, has fallen off a little bit. I think obviously we got Colorado State. I think their chance. They're a really good team. I think they might be able to play them to only that at-large conversation. San Diego State as well. But, we don't know what these teams are going to really look like come March, man. So these other leagues aren't typically as strong as they normally are. Even the OVC has been a 2-bid league in certain years, man. This year is looking like a 1-bid league between, Belmont, or whoever comes out of that league, man. So there's going to be opportunities for the WCC to kind of steal some bids from these other leagues. And we mentioned the ineptitude that is the ACC and the Pac-12, who's
Big Ten.
The A10, I mean, the Big Ten. The Big Ten has been getting ran through. So, I mean, there's not bids. This year are going to be a little bit easier to come by than they have been in last years, in my opinion, just because of the fact that a lot of conferences aren't having the years that they're accustomed to having. Namely the ACC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the A10. Just simply aren't as strong this year. So they're going to open up the opportunity for the WCC to potentially steal a few bids.
Nah, for sure. I mean, and I couldn't have said it better myself, man. I think, we've seen how vastly the ACC has struggled and the Big Ten has struggled early on. So, I mean, normally when these conferences are 8-9 bids, I mean, it's looking like conferences like, the Big East could be moving towards that 6-7 bids, and conferences like the ACC and the Big Ten might be like 5 or 6 bid leagues, and which is going to open up for conferences like you mentioned, man, like the Mountain West and WCC. But I mean, shoot, man, I think right now, man, the Big East has looked almost like the best conference in the country, early on as far as just teams getting big time wins. Checking on the UConn game, UConn was beating Auburn just now. And we mentioned they went, I think, 6-2 in the Gavitt games, and Villanova and UConn didn't even play in that. You know what I'm saying? Right now, UConn's tight game against Auburn. They have a 1-point lead with 3 minutes left. We'll see if they can hang on in that one. But I mean, shoot, man, it feels like we're in 2010 right now, man, with the Big East leading the way almost. But I think the good thing is, like you mentioned, man, I think it's gonna mean that there's gonna be a lot of mid-major teams that are gonna have opportunities. More opportunities than have existed in the past. So it's a great time for the auto bid, man, and mid-majors to kind of make something special happen.
For sure, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for March Selection Sunday, man. But we got a lot of basketball to be played between then and now, man. Like Drew mentioned, obviously the Auto Bid is a mid-major podcast, man, and we are pleased to be joined by one of the best mid-major players in the country, man, in George Papas. We mentioned earlier. He's a first-team preseason All-MAC selection last year with a second-team All-MAC guy. Currently It's off to a great start, leading Monmouth in scoring at almost 20 points a game with 5 rebounds and 2 assists. And his Monmouth Hawks are off to a 3-1 start. They're going to play Princeton tonight at 7 p.m. So we're going to go ahead and get you over onto that interview with George Papas. Also, a lot of you guys might remember George Papas because he went viral a few years ago for that crazy dunk in Allen Fieldhouse. So you know that we asked him about that on this podcast, man. So without further ado, we're going to get you guys over to our interview with George Papas. All righty, guys. We are pleased to be joined by Monmouth fifth-year guard George Papas. Obviously, Drew and I played at Quinnipiac in the MAC and had the opportunity to play against George for 2 years, his first 2 years of college, man. So definitely been a long time coming to get him on the episode, man. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for coming on today, man.
Nah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Anything in the MAC, I'll support.
Yes, sir, bro. So obviously, we want to get right into it, man. You're a guy that obviously is coming off 2 huge games. Had 22 at Towson game that I was at. And then obviously came off a 31-point game last night at Lehigh, man. You're off to a great start to your senior season, man. I mean, what has kind of changed? Obviously, your first game you had 8 points and lost to Charlotte. I mean, what has kind of changed for you over the last 2 games? You've been able to kind of make some shots and get going offensively these last 2 games.
Ultimately, I just kind of settled down. I think in the first game, I just had my jitters, emotions with fans being back, getting the extra year. I was rushing a lot of my shots, not taking my time. They weren't giving me clean looks. No one's really going to give me clean looks. So the next 2 games, I was being more patient, kind of letting the offense flow. I'm kind of finding a good balance of being aggressive and letting the game come to me. And once those met, y'all saw what happened. It's a lot of great stuff that happens on that court.
Yeah. Now, I want to rewind a little bit, man, because obviously, for you to be able to have a 5th year, you had to kind of go through the process of going through the transfer portal, deciding to come back. And I want to ask you, man, like, what was that process like for you, just going through the transfer portal, kind of weighing your options, and then kind of what went into your decision to kind of come back to Monmouth, for your 5th year?
Yeah, so most people know I wasn't recruited at all out of high school. So once I put my name in the transfer portal, well, first off, me and Coach Rice, he gave us 4 seniors last year all the option to return. He said because of the crazy circumstances, he would feel bad if he didn't give us the chance to see what the transfer portal held for us. And, me and him have such a good relationship that, he helped me a lot with some of the schools that talked to me. So when I first put my name in the portal, a lot of schools hit me up. And the recruiting stuff was new to me. 20, 22, 23 years old. I wasn't recruited ever. So people calling me. I didn't know how the game went. So first school to call me was Wake Forest. I was like, oh. I was like, ACC, wow. And then, I had a lot of mid-majors call me. And then one mid-major in the Midwest was supposed to call me. He texted me saying he'd call me. And, I'm sitting there waiting on my phone. An hour goes by. I get a call from a random number. I'm like, okay, it's them. Answer the phone. It's like, hey, George, this is Coach Blank from University of Georgia. Like, I got stuck. I was like, Georgia? They was like, yeah, SEC. I was like, what the heck? So I had all types of schools hit me up. A lot of CAA schools, a lot of A10s. Like I said, Wake Forest, a couple Big East schools like Georgetown, Butler, Xavier, and a lot of them were really intriguing. But at the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm out of here. Like, I got these opportunities. But the more I matured throughout the transfer portal process, the more I realized, like, it just really would not feel right leaving Monmouth. Coach Rice was the only one to ever give me a chance. I made a home. I have a home down here. This is my home. I've made it my home for 4 years. And, it just wouldn't feel right leaving because I know what I got here. And I'm always up for a new challenge, but I also felt like I had more to prove. And Coach Rice just being there every step of the way with me, even telling me to go in the transfer portal, meant a lot. I told him straight up, I said, listen, UNC is my dream school. Ever since I was a kid, if you could, and he went to UNC, so he obviously has UNC ties. So he called them for me. 2 days later, Coach Williams retired. So I'm like, wow, maybe I'm the reason. They're thinking about me. He goes, can't do it. Got to retire. But yeah, I couldn't be happier. Once I made my decision, it was like it's not like I just knew if I were to pick somewhere else, there would always be that thing in the back of my head, like, sheesh, George, you should have stayed. You should have stayed. There's not one bone in my body that says you should have left. And I'm just happy with my decision.
Now, you're a guy that, started off your career, your first 2 years, you only averaged 2 points a game. Now you're 3 games into your 5th year, you're averaging 20 points a game. You were, second team All-MAC guy last year. You're preseason first team All-MAC this year. I mean, talk a little bit about your journey, man, how you were able to come from, starting your career off, not playing very much, to now being one of the best players in the whole league.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy, crazy journey to think about. I mean, I've been going through this journey my whole life. So to me, it's kind of regular because it's me. But when a lot of people ask me about it, it kind of puts me in a perspective, look from the outside in, and how blessed I really am. Coach Rice giving me this opportunity. And the original plan was I was supposed to redshirt. I walked on my freshman year, and then I would be on scholarship the rest of the years. I was supposed to redshirt because we were pretty deep my freshman year. But throughout the preseason my freshman year, I just showed that I could hang, and I was a gym rat. And ultimately, Coach Rice left the decision up to me. He said he was satisfied with how I've been playing, and what 18, 19-year-old kid's gonna say, yeah, I want a redshirt. So I decided not to redshirt. Was playing pretty decent the beginning part of my freshman year. Played 40 minutes against UPenn one game, and then a couple games later, twisted my ankle pretty bad, was out for 2 weeks, came back for like 2 games, and then I got sick with mono, and was pretty much out the whole rest of the year. So that was my freshman year. And then sophomore year coming in, I had a great summer. We had a lot of hype around our team, and I was supposed to come off the bench, probably get around 20 minutes, do really good stuff for us. But we started the season off 0-12. And I was in a crazy shooting slump. I started non-conference 3 for 33. And I had no confidence in the world, but Coach Rice kept reassuring me that I'm one of the best shooters in the country. Keep doing you. And eventually that team that year made it to the championship, lost in the championship, but the next year coming back, was up for 6th man of the year, averaged around 10 points, had a really solid season, and then COVID shut us down. And then that quarantine summer was when we really got to it back home. Me and my older brother Tommy, and one of my best friend Divine Eke, who went to Ryder, who lives around the corner from us. We have a hoop in our driveway. We made a gym in our garage, and we just got after it. I got bigger, I got stronger, I got better, and I came in senior year with a goal in mind. And I started off the season averaging like the first 10 games averaging around like 17. And then I fell off a little bit. We didn't move the ball as much as we should, but that's just how stuff goes. Sometimes I took a lesser role trying to be more of a team guy than the scorer that I am. And we won a share of the regular season. So that was really cool. Fell short in the MAC tournament, and once that happened, that kind of made my decision easier to come back. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to have my last college game on Monmouth be a loss in the quarterfinal. So, and I'm older now. I'm a grad student. I have a lot more knowledge, and I think that's a heavy reason as to why my season started the way it is. I'm a veteran. It's as simple as that. They call us the vets. We have 4 grad transfers. One of our assistant Coach Meeks, he just calls me the vet because I done been through everything, the highs, the lows, and I'm just blessed to be in the position I am now. So that's a little bit of my college journey.
Definitely been quite the journey, man. I gotta ask you, man, because that game you mentioned, your sophomore year, or that season you mentioned your sophomore year when you guys started off 0-12. That was my senior year, man. I remember my senior year, man, we had a chance to win the MAC regular season title on our home court against Manhattan that year. Ended up losing, and it was like a 3 or 4 way tie for second place. somehow we ended up getting like I think a 3 or 4 seed.
It was like a 5-way tie for second place, and we ended up getting the 3rd seed.
And we seen you guys in the first round of the MAC tournament, and that's when you guys upset us in the first round, man. I remember that because I think the game was in like the 90s. Like, Cam and Jake both had like 30. I remember that game, man. But I was like, yo, like, what happened? It was kind of similar to how you said about, I think it was last year you said when you guys were tied for the regular season championship and lost in the quarterfinals. But what do you remember about that season, man? Like, when you guys started off 0-12? Because I remember from us, we were like, yo, these dudes are dead in the water. Like, 0-12.
You remember when they came to Quinnipiac and we was whacking them, and then they came back. I think that game went to like double overtime at Quinnipiac.
Yeah, I think that game, I remember we were down 9 with like 40 seconds left, and then Dion hit like 9 straight points in 40 seconds to finish over. Y'all still got the W over us, but that wasn't crazy.
And then y'all beat us in the MAC tournament.
Yeah, I didn't play. Our first round matchup was versus Niagara. I didn't play. Our second round matchup, I think, was against y'all, and the score was 94-90. It was a crazy game. It was a shootout, but that's tough for y'all, putting up 90 and still losing. But
it was 98-92. We literally scored 92 points and gave up 98 and lost. We had 2 dudes score 30.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I mean, it was.
Yeah, what do you remember just about like that MAC tournament game, but then also like just that season? Because like, I mean, I feel like it's hard when you start off 0-12 and then being able to turn around like that and make a run, to the MAC tournament. So kind of talk about that, what that time was like.
I mean, personally, it was tough. I went through a lot of adversity, being a guy that was supposed to be one of the dudes on the team to get limited minutes and limited shots. It was a lot of growing up for me as a team. It's kind of like once we transitioned, we were 1-12 in non-conference, and we transitioned into MAC play, and it's kind of like, all right, guys, we're a one bid league anyways, so that really didn't matter. So now it's really hone in and focus on this non-conference. It was up and down. I think we were an 8 seed or a 9 seed, but there are some games where there is a stretch where we won a couple, lost a couple. So we definitely showed that we could hang in the MAC. And the MAC's a tough league. And, our team just decided to click at the right moment. And going through the tournament, I didn't play against Niagara. I didn't play against y'all. I didn't play in the semis against Canisius. But I was the most active on the bench. I was talking, supporting. And Coach Rice came up to me after the semifinal win. He's like, George, don't think I don't see that. I know you've been through a tough year. Keep doing what you're doing. Everything's going to work out. And it's exactly what's happened.
Now, earlier in the interview, you mentioned kind of King Rice having this North Carolina tie, right? And one thing that is extremely interesting this year, you guys took a North Carolina walk-on that had not done a thing in his 4-year career. I think he was averaging like 0.7 points per game over his 4 years, like 2 minutes per game. And he's now averaging 17 points a game for you guys. Walker Miller. Tell a little bit about, the impact that he's made on you guys' team. Also, Shavar Reynolds, who you guys took from Seton Hall, man. I mean, both of those guys are having, good starts to their year. But this Walker Miller kid, I saw the first game. I was like, yo, who the hell is this dude? Like, I remember the dude Walker Kessler was there. He left and went to Auburn. I'm like, who is Walker Miller? Like, yeah, like 23 the first game. So, tell a little bit about him and what he's kind of been able to bring to you guys' team this year.
Yeah, Walker's been absolutely huge for us, and we kind of all knew that coming in. So when Coach Rice first told me about Walker, I was really intrigued by the situation. He told me a little bit about his backstory, and what popped into my head when he first said it, he's like, he's 6'11" and was a walk-on at Carolina. To me, that's a no-brainer. Like coming that, you don't see a lot of 6'11" dudes in the MAC, so that was automatically like, okay, yep. And then I saw some of his film. He's coordinated, can catch the ball, can lay the ball up, and he's got heart. Me, Shavar, and Walker are all walk-ons. We're our top 3 scorers right now. We all started off as walk-ons, so that just shows how much heart we have. But with Walker, like the more I saw him play, and I helped Coach Rice a lot in trying to get him to come here. I was calling him a lot, like saying, "Yo, bro, we need you," and we definitely do. And throughout the summer, we're like, wow, like this guy's good. like he could have played he could have played. I think he went to New Hampton Prep School, and then was originally committed to Dartmouth. But then a coaching change happened where it led him to decommit. And his older brother, Wes Miller, the head coach of Cincinnati, went to UNC. So those UNC roots run deep. So Coach Williams gave him the opportunity to come walk on, and he took it. But he's a baller. People looked at him, they look at his stats from the past 4 years and they say like, oh, who the hell is this? And then now they're watching him play and they're like, wow, like his first game, I knew it was going to happen. Like the first game I knew it was going to happen. They're going to say, oh, who's this starting his first game when he didn't play at all for the first 4 years, 23.
Nah, that's dope, man. I think that's definitely, one of the better stories, man, so far in the early college basketball season. But I want to ask you too, man. This is something that I noticed, just following on your Instagram and stuff. And that's you announced a partnership with Beyond Sports Management to kind of handle your NIL stuff. And I think that this is in this whole NIL space. This is kind of like a new phenomenon in college basketball, man. Like, I noticed that it was Isaiah Mobley and Jaime Jaquez signed with like Wasserman to do their NIL stuff. Imani Bates at Memphis signed with Rock Nation Sports to do their NIL stuff. So it's an interesting new trend where you're seeing like these college basketball players who are now signing with like, agencies or management companies to kind of handle this NIL stuff. So for you, I kind of wanted to ask you, one, what made you want to sign with, a management company or agency to kind of handle your NIL stuff? And then two, what stuck out about Beyond, that made you want to, trust them, with this next part of your college basketball journey?
Yeah, well, with Beyond, I got a really good sense of family there. They're not big time, but they still have a lot of big names. And to me, it was a no-brainer just because they approached me with the opportunity. It was legal in NCAA with the new NIL rules. It's completely just NIL stuff. So, I can help them building their brand. They can help me building my brand. It was a no-brainer, try to get my name out there a little more. But, the NIL stuff is really cool, and it's really good for for college players to come. But because it's so new, I feel like it only really truly like benefits high major kids like the Alabama quarterbacks making like $1 million off of NIL stuff. Like if this came earlier in our college careers, I'm sure we'd have more opportunities, but because it's so new, I'm sure like a lot of people don't really know how to get a feel from it. But, anything that can help build my brand or help others in our small Monmouth community, I'm willing to do. And the fact that they reached out to me and wanted me to become part of the family, meant a lot.
Now, George, there's one thing that I can't let you get off this podcast without asking you, man. I mean, you went viral, 2 years ago for a dunk against Kansas. And honestly, that moment was – it still be – I saw it on Twitter like 2 days ago. I think it was like the 2-year anniversary or whatever the other day. Man, I mean, you guys are down by like 50, and Kansas dribbling the clock out, and you go down and dunk on – I don't know which Kansas player it was. You dunked on him and had some choice words for him after you dunked on him. I mean, walk me through that moment, man. What was going through your head? And I have to know what did King Rice say after all that went down, man? And just talk me through that moment a little bit for you, man.
All right, so to start the story, I got to bring you back a day before the game even started. We're practicing at Allen Fieldhouse, and it's historic Allen Fieldhouse. It's like no other place in the country. And as soon as we walked in for practice, we're like, whoa. Like Lil Monmouth playing in Allen Fieldhouse is awesome. But, so after the game, we're doing film at the hotel, and Coach Rice, comes up, starts saying his game plan stuff. And we've been fortunate enough. Coach Rice always schedules a hard schedule, which I love. And we've played a lot of high majors. My freshman year, we played at Virginia, at UConn. We've played Kentucky in the Garden. We've played at Kentucky. Who else? A couple others that haven't popped in my mind yet, but we've had a lot of high major games and at Pittsburgh. And he told us, he was like, listen, the 2 nights before the Kansas game, we played at Kansas State. He was like, guys, this isn't a regular high major game. Like, this is Kansas, Allen Fieldhouse. He was like the guy Fog Allen, who the building's named after, was taught by James Naismith, who created the game. And Fog Allen taught Dean Smith, who was Coach Rice's head coach. So he's making all these historical comparisons. And I'm sitting there like, wow. All right. So we get to the game day, 90, 85 minutes on the clock. We step on the court to start warming up. Student section's already sold out. I'm like, yo, what the heck is going on? Like, it's an hour and a half before the game, the whole student section sold out. And I'm feeling good. You know, everyone's got adrenaline. I'm doing stuff in warm-ups I don't ever do, like back scratchers, reverse, stuff like that. You know, everyone's feeling good. Out the gate, whooping us. Halftime comes. You know, I'm in halftime like, all right, this game's over. I'm like, yo, but the atmosphere is crazy. At halftime, I'm like, all right, game's over. I got to catch a dunk in here. Coach Rice was like, this is a game you tell your grandkids about. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give something to tell my grandkids. So, like, the whole last 10 minutes, if you watch, I leak out a lot. Like, I'm trying to leak out, maybe catch them sleeping, catch a dunk. I had 12 points all in the second half. And, you know, they were up, and I'm all for running it up. If you're going to beat us, kill us. So, but when people sportsmanship part of it, they said, oh, I did something that was bad sportsman. Like, there was more to it. They were talking junk up 50, which I'm cool with. You beat me like that, you could talk all the junk in the world. But so what was on my mind, I see the dude dribbling the clock out, and he's kind of dribbling like an a-hole, like high dribble behind the back. And I just look at him, I'm like, yo, I could take this ball right now. Take 2 steps toward the bench as if like I'm about to go to the bench and, you know, just shake hands. And then I just burst to the ball. Once I stole the ball, I blacked out. I black out. I remember landing, thinking I got hit in the head, and it was so loud that I thought it was an and-1. So, and part of me was like, damn, he really tried to chase me down and block me up 50? So I started cursing him out. I'm thinking it's an and-1. I'm about to start walking to the free throw line. I turn around, I see the ref saying, like, that's a tech. And that's where you see me say, I don't give a like, it's over. I don't care about a tech. So the next, you know, like, Coach Rice brings us in the huddle, and he's like, all right, guys, relax. George, just don't do anything else. All right. I'm like, all right, cool. So they're shooting the tech free throws, and the next thing you know, like, I just hear this roaring boo, and I'm just like, what did I do? When it happened, I did not think it was going to go that viral. I was like, what the heck did I just do? So we go to the handshake lines. First person I see is Coach Self. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. He's like, hey, don't worry about it. You're all good. No Kansas player shakes my hand. There was a couple words exchanged. Our assistant coach is saying, all right, run off, like we always do after games. I'm running off. We get to the tunnel. I hear boos all over the place. People throwing middle fingers at me. One guy, like, puts his hand out to shake my hand, like, yeah, George, yeah. I'm like, go to dap him up, pulls his hand back, puts the middle finger right in my face. I stop in my tracks. I start cussing him out. Eventually, we just go back to the locker room, and everyone's, like, kind of in shock, but, like, laughing. Like, we just lost by 50, but everyone's like, yo, what did you just do? My phone is ding, 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 ding. I'm like, oh, my God. Coach gets back to the locker room. He goes, all right, guys, tough loss. He goes, I tell George not to do a thing. I'm talking to Coach Self. I turn around, and I see him cussing out all of Allen Fieldhouse. I'm just like, oh, my God, what have I done? But Coach Rice, you know, if you look at the picture, it's on my Instagram. You can zoom in on his face. He's smiling. He's laughing. Coach Rice is upset about me getting a tech and how I carried myself. Playing to the buzzer is something he encourages. I would have done it 10 times out of 10 again. I just wouldn't have reacted the way I reacted.
Hey, man, look, Well, you definitely accomplished your goal of having something to tell your grandkids about, man. So
Yeah.
mission accomplished there.
Honestly, but like, what was the aftermath of that? Like you know, when like the weeks after, days after, like, what was that whole taking in, going on your phone and seeing the ESPN and all that stuff? Like, what was that like after that?
My head blew up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. First off, when we left, when we were leaving Kansas, I thought like I ran to the bus. I thought I was gonna get chased by pitchforks and stuff. Like, we're in Kansas. I don't know what the hell is about to happen. And I stay up all night because my phone is going off. Like 4 a.m. I'm on ESPN. So right after that, I think we fly back to New Jersey and then fly immediately to Pittsburgh. Probably like 10 people recognize me, come up to me in Newark asking for pictures. So and then when we get back to campus, like a week later, because we also had a tournament down in Orlando, like everyone was like, "Yo, George, you're the man." To this day, I have people come up to me like if I'm out or something, be like, "Yo, George, what up?"
Hilarious, bro. Nah, that was when I seen that, I was like, yo, this dude is hilarious, bro. Like that Jay was mad funny, man. So obviously, man, going to your last year, man, you got it. You know, is one of the better players in the league. We're obviously preseason first team all league, man. You could put a bow on your Monmouth career, man. Like, how would you want to see your time at Monmouth come to a close?
I mean, obviously, I need this MAC chip. You know, I came back. Like, for as long, even in high school, all I want is a ring. I wanna go dancing. I want to go to the tournament, and you know, I came back to give Coach Rice a MAC championship because you know he had phenomenal teams in the past that were that close, and we have an opportunity to get it done this year. And I feel like with the heads we have and the leadership and the experience, this year could really be it. And obviously, I'm not going to get another extra year out of nowhere. So this is it. You know what I'm saying? So.
Now, I do want to ask you, man, because this is, you know, being on the media side of the world, you know, now, you know, you get to hear a lot of different takes. And there's a lot of people who think that, you know, the MAC essentially runs through Iona. You know, they have Patino, they won the MAC last year, they brought in all these new guys. For you, when you hear that, like, what comes to your mind? How does that motivate you? You know, do you know, how, as a player, you know, we hear things like, oh, you know, Iona, they won the MAC, you know, 4 out of the last 5 years. You know, they have Patino now. Like, you know, how do you feel about that? What is that like, you know, playing, you know, in your last year this year?
I mean, you got to give respect to Iona because of what they've done these past years. But you know, it definitely fuels me a lot just because all summer long, you know, I'm on Twitter, I'm on social media. All you're hearing about is Iona and Patino and the transfers they got, and all these preseason stuff are coming out, and they're putting Monmouth like 6th, 7th. I saw there's one that put us at 11th out of 11th. I'm like, and all you're hearing about is how good Iona's going to be, and I'm just sitting here like, I guess they don't care that an all MAC player is returning back to Monmouth. So it definitely is giving me a chip on my shoulder. I maybe put 5 or 6 flyers of the preseason stuff that put us at 11th in our locker room, circled it. I'm like, all right, guys, they're not about to do this to us. Like we just won the league last year, tied to win the league. We had 2 of our seniors leave. We have 2 of our seniors coming back, me and Marcus, and grad transfers coming in. We're going to be 11th. It definitely put a chip on my shoulder, and it fueled me a lot during this off season, during the preseason, and Monmouth's coming, you know, and rightfully so. Iona should be the front runner with how they won last year, but I'm just sick of hearing about them all over social media, how good they are, because we need our flowers too, and we're going to get them.
Listen, man, just, you know, being on this side now, a lot of people be putting out these little preseason rankings and don't even watch the league, don't even know who's coming back and who's doing what. So, you know what I'm saying? But I'm definitely glad you got to use that some motivation, man. Drew and I definitely going to be rooting for you guys, except for when you play Quinnipiac those 2 times a year. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, man, hope to catch you guys at the MAC tournament this year, maybe at some point in time if you guys come down to the DMV this season.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
No doubt, man. Well, shoot, best of luck, man, with the rest of the non-conference, man. I was in the conference season. Hopefully, if you get another Sports Center moment, you know what I'm saying, another GPAP highlight, we'll be looking forward to that, man. But thank you for your time, man. It's definitely been a lot of fun, man. And like Ace said, man, we'll definitely be tuning in to you guys this year.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, guys.
All righty, guys. That was our guy, George Papas, man, a fellow MAC legend, man. You know, I mean, me and Drew have spent 4 years playing in the MAC, man. We played against George for 2 years, our junior and senior year. We played his Monmouth Hawks, man, and definitely had some battles through the years, man. Our senior year specifically, those games, all 3 of the games we played them were nuts. The first game we played them, like he mentioned, we had a huge lead, kind of gave it up there in the end, ended up going to, I believe, double overtime and beating them double overtime. After they started the year, like he mentioned, they were 0-12. They won their last game before heading into the MAC play. They were like 1-12, 1-13. Like, we about to smoke these boys, and we were smoking them. And we let our foot off the gas, man. Ended up surviving there in like double overtime. Then we beat them at their crib in a really good game. I forget what the score ended up being. And within that game in the MAC tournament, man, we lost, 98-92, after beating them twice in the regular season, man. An absolute track meet. Cam Young and Jake Rigoni both went for over 30 points, man. And it's been crazy to kind of see his growth coming from, because he didn't even play in that game our senior year. He didn't even get off the bench, and now he's, one of the better players in the MAC. Is looking like a first-team all-league guy, man. So definitely was a lot of fun kind of reminiscing with him just now.
Now, for sure, man, I think it's definitely just a testament, man. Sometimes, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, man. We've seen a lot of guys who have transferred outside of – I mean, he said it in the podcast, man. He had the opportunity to, graduate transfer. And had his pick of litter as far as schools that he wanted to go to, from the ACC, the Big East, the A-10, mid-majors. And, he decided to stay at Monmouth. Now he's averaging, close to 20 points per game, man. I think it's just a lesson to a lot of people, man, who are thinking about leaving and transferring, man. Just if you got something good, sometimes you got to just stick it out, man. But I think the most fun part about that was talking about that Kansas dunk, man, because I remember when that happened, I was like, yo, man, I mean, I can't even say I blame him. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, when he's 40, 50, and he ain't picked up a basketball and however long, he's going to be able to say, yo, man, I got a body at Allen Fieldhouse. And, a nice little picture frame moment. So, hey, I ain't mad at him, man. I ain't mad at him for that.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad at him at all. But if I had, the wherewithal to do that, I'd did the same thing, man. If I had the opportunity, man. You can say you call a body in Allen Fieldhouse. That man really, like that picture, if it is like a free frame, he really banged on dude. Like he really punched on him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yet they lost by 55, man, but nobody cares about that. We knew they weren't gonna win that game, man. So hey, like my boy Lil Durk said, man, my man got his viral moment, man. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to my guy George Papas, man. Shout out to my guy Lil Durk, man. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna definitely follow up with that, man. I hope at one point in time, we be catching him on Sports Center again, man. That dude definitely one of the most exciting players in the MAC, man. Dude doesn't care. He has no conscience. He'll shoot 1 for 30 before he shoots 1 for 2. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that dude step back threes, you name it, man. So definitely want to thank him again for coming on today, man. I know, they're going to have a great season down there in the MAC. Hopefully not better than my Quinnipiac Bobcats, man, but definitely looking forward to kind of watching them play this season.
For sure, man. Shoot, Quinnipiac took a tough loss yesterday to UNH, man. I got to watch some of that game, man. But hopefully they can get it back on track. They started the season off on a 3-game win streak and just pretty much went cold, yesterday from 3. But, it happens. It happens sometimes, man. But, like you said, man, the MAC is going to be extremely fun to watch this year, man. So definitely looking forward to when some action gets started.
Yeah, for sure, man. And the MAC is definitely getting ready to get started. We also got a bunch of good games this week that we definitely want to preview, man. So we want to, obviously, there's going to be a huge game on Friday. We mentioned between Gonzaga and Duke. Obviously, that's probably the biggest game on the schedule coming up, man. But before that, we want to get into some games that are going to happen on Thursday. We're going to have a top 25 matchup in our mid-major poll, man. We're going to see number 25 ranked Belmont. We're going to play the 8th ranked Drake out of the Missouri Valley, man. It's going to be a huge game for both squads because Belmont, obviously, now it's not 3-2. They had a rough one over there at LSU, lost by 30 points in a game that a lot of people kind of thought would be a lot more competitive because Belmont has proven over the past 2 years, man, that they've been one of the better mid-majors, man, but, they got shellacked over there at LSU, and also they lost to Ohio earlier, who's ninth-ranked team in our poll, man. So we're going to have another opportunity, versus top 10 team in our poll tomorrow when they play Drake, man. Obviously, it's a big game for the Missouri Valley, as well as Drake is going to try to, stay undefeated, man, and earn a quality victory. That'll definitely help them out come March, man. So that'll be a huge one on Thursday. San Francisco is going to play Towson on Thursday as well in Las Vegas from the Continental Tires Las Vegas Invitational, man. And obviously, San Fran should win this game, but Towson is going to be a team that is going to be looking for an upset, man. Obviously, Towson is a talented team, man, and had an opportunity to watch them play yesterday versus UPenn, and they had a guy named Cam Holden who absolutely went berserk. 20 points, 19 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals. Last person to have a stat line like that was Norris Cole from my hoop heads, who played at Cleveland State. He did it back in the 2010-2011 season for Cleveland State, man. I mean, this dude is transferred from UT Martin. Pat Skerry landed him obviously out of transfer portal this spring. Last year, he was a freshman. He was on the all-rookie team in the OVC last year, man, and he's having an absolutely outstanding season for Towson this year. He's averaging, before yesterday, he was averaging 17 and 10. And I know that probably went up after yesterday. He's probably around like 18 and like 12 or 13, 14 or something like that now, man. But he's a great player, man. Can score, can pass it. Also, Terry Nolan, transfer from Bradley. He played in the Missouri Valley last year over there, but he's at Towson now. He had 25 yesterday. Great score. Towson was without Jason Gibson and Antonio Rizzuto, who transferred from Albany, man. Both of those guys are important backcourt guys. Coach Casey hopes to get those guys back for their game for San Francisco. So we'll see what happens, man, on Thursday if Towson can kind of pull the upset, or if San Francisco can kind of keep holding it down for the WCC out there in Las Vegas, man. So definitely be watching for those two games. And then Saturday, we got a whole host of games. Saturday is going to be a great day for college hoops, man. Make sure you guys kick your feet up, get some popcorn, man, and find you a nice seat on your couch, man. I know you probably still have the itis from that feast you're going to consume on Thanksgiving. But Saturday, we're going to have a bunch of games. We're going to have another top 25 matchup. Actually, no, we actually just dropped College Charleston out of our top 25, but they were in our top 25 last week. They're going to have an opportunity to play Chattanooga, who's ranked 11th in our poll. That's going to be a huge game Saturday at 4 p.m. Also, Vermont, who's number 24 in our poll, going to play UNCG. UNCG is not ranked in our poll, man, but they're a great team out of the SoCon. SoCon is always one of the best mid-major leagues, man. They're going to tip off Saturday at 5 p.m. UC Irvine also going to take on Santa Clara. UC Irvine team that also kind of was flirting with our top 25, man. They were I believe they were in it last week. They're going to play Santa Clara, who's number 6 in our poll, man. They're going to play Saturday at 7:30 p.m., man. So those are going to be a bunch of great games for Saturday. Then Sunday and Monday, we're going to have the HBCU Challenge hosted by Chris Paul. Going to be out there in Phoenix, as we're going to get on Sunday. You're going to see Hampton and Norfolk, and you're going to see Grambling and Morgan State, man. I want to shout out to Chris Paul for this, man. This is a great event, kind of showcasing HBCU hoops, man. We're going to get a team from the Big South in Hampton. We're going to get 2 teams from the MEAC in Norfolk and Morgan State, and we're going to get Grambling out of the SWAC. And then on Monday, you're going to get Norfolk and Grambling, and you're going to get Morgan State and Hampton, man. So it's going to be some great basketball. All these games will be on TV. It will all be on ESPNU. So no excuse not to go ahead and watch all 4 of these games, man. It gets to take place on ESPNU Sunday night. Sunday games are going to be at 6 and 8:30, and then Monday is going to be at 8 and 10:30, man. So make sure you guys are tuned in. Good HBCU hoops. And then Monday also going to get UC Riverside and St. Mary's. St. Mary's obviously is ranked 5th in our mid-major poll, man. They're going to play UC Riverside, who's had a stint in our poll as well, man. So some great basketball coming up this weekend, man. I know that was a lot, man, but it's going to be some great basketball, man. Also, Thanksgiving this weekend, man. So warm your leftovers up for Thanksgiving, man. Get you a seat on the couch, man, and watch some great basketball this weekend, man.
Yes, sir, man. Feast week is upon us, man. I think, like you said, man, hats off to Chris Paul for that, man. I'm glad to see this Hampton and Norfolk, man, because that was a big-time rivalry, when Hampton was in the MEAC. So I'm glad that they're making that happen. I wish that the game would be on campus, because I know that the fans and the students, would absolutely love that game. It's a shame that it's going to be in Phoenix, but nonetheless, a great thing that Chris Paul is doing. And, I want to circle back to Belmont a little bit, man. I mean, hats off to Belmont. I mean, because their schedule, they dug no bump. You know what I'm saying? They had Ohio the first game of the season. who was a second weekend NCAA tournament team. You play Furman, who was one of the best teams in the SoCon. You go to LSU, who was a second weekend team last year, I think, at least a tournament team. I think. Did they make tournament last year?
Yeah, they made a tournament. I don't think they made the second weekend. I know they beat St. Bonaventure in the first round.
Yeah.
I can't remember who they played in the second round. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, they were an NCAA tournament team from last year. They had them, and on their schedule. Drake, another NCAA tournament team. That these are all games that they've played just in the month of November. At Belmont. Then they're still going to see St. Louis, who's one of the better teams in the A10. Chattanooga, who's probably the favorite right now in the SoCon. So, I mean, shout out to Belmont, man, for scheduling these games in the non-conference. They definitely have a plethora of tests to kind of get them ready for the Ohio Valley. But I think that I'm definitely looking forward, to that game that they have this week. I think it's going to be great, them to see them against Drake. We know how good Drake is out of the Missouri Valley, but if Belmont can kind of steal a win and kind of get back on their horse to where I think people wanted them to be coming into this year, then then watch out. Watch out. But nonetheless, man, like you said, man, some great basketball for you guys coming up for Feast Week this week.
Yeah, for sure, man. And the Granddaddy from all is going to be Friday night at Gonzaga. It's going to play Duke, man. Obviously, we're going to get Gonzaga-Duke, top 10 matchup in the country. We're also going to get Paolo versus Chet, the projected top two, prospects in this year's NBA draft are going to square off, man. So that is going to be appointment TV, man. So, Drew, what are you looking forward to, most for this matchup on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's exactly what you said, man. I want to see Chet versus Paolo, man. I'm hoping that these guys guard each other. Hopefully, Duke plays Mark Williams a little more so we can see him and Timmy and Chet and Paolo. Obviously, if Duke likes to kind of play Paolo at the 5, and I don't know how much we'll see that matchup because they'll probably have Timmy guarding Paolo if he's at the 5. But I think, this is going to be – I think, after yesterday, people kind of – when Gonzaga beat Texas, they're like, oh, well, it's Texas. They're not really good. They have all these transfers, and it's Chris Beard's first year, still figuring it out. They kind of wrote them off when they spanked Texas how they did. Then, last night, they spanked UCLA by 20. And I think that was kind of a statement in the coming out party for Gonzaga this year. A lot of people didn't know if they were going to be as good as last year's team after they lost Ayayi, Kispert, and Suggs. So I think versus Duke, I mean, if Gonzaga comes out and punches Duke in the mouth and, gets another double-digit victory over Duke, then I think it's safe to say, man, that Gonzaga is the clear-cut number 1 team in the country. I think as of right now, we can say that. But I think, obviously when you're going up against Duke, you already played the number 2 ranked team in the country. Texas was ranked 5th when they played them. So if they can get a win over Duke, man, I think that's going to let us know, man, that the Zags are going to be here to stay, man. They're going to be gearing up for another, historic run this year. I don't know if they're going to go undefeated, but, I think if they can beat Duke pretty handily, then, I mean, you can pretty much book their ticket, to the Final Four, barring any injuries or anything unforeseen.
And we spoke about Belmont ducking no bump. Talk about Gonzaga, they ducked no bump. I mean, they played Texas, 5th-ranked team in the country the first week of the season. Then they played UCLA last night, 2nd-ranked team in the country. They're going to play Duke Friday, the 5th-ranked team in the country. And they're still going to play Alabama, the 10th-ranked team in the country, I believe, on December the 4th. So they're also going to play Washington and Texas Tech. So their schedule was no joke. They absolutely run the gauntlet each and every year in the non-conference because in past years, WCC hasn't really offered them much in terms of competitiveness. And so they want to get some real game stress. And they haven't gotten it yet, honestly, because they blew out Texas and they blew out UCLA. But I think they're going to get it versus Duke, man. I mean, I like this game versus Duke. Duke matches up really well versus Gonzaga. I think the thing about Duke is that they're going to have the size to kind of match up with Timmy and Chet in the front court. They're going to have, obviously, Mark Williams, 7-foot, 240-pound freshman. Then you got Paolo, obviously, a 6'10", 250-pound freshman. Obviously him and Chet have grown up playing against each other. And off the bench, you got Trevor John, who played at Marquette. Number 6'9", 50-year guy, old, physical. So they're going to have the bodies kind of throw at Chet and Drew Timmy down there. My question could be the guard play. Obviously, Jeremy Roach and Andrew Nembhard, obviously advantaged Nembhard in that matchup. I mean, obviously, after we seen him do last night for UCLA, I think the key to this game is going to be Trevor Keels. I mean, we saw what Keels did, his first game in the college season in a game versus Kentucky in the Garden, Champions Classic. All lights were on. He absolutely showed out at 25. Was the best player on the floor really in that game versus Kentucky, man. They're gonna need him to be that, versus Gonzaga, man. I mean, we know Keels, man. He's a DMV guy from here. team takeover guy, Paul Six guy. I mean, this dude is battle tested, man. He hasn't really, had a game like that. Michigan, like that Kentucky game since then, man. So they're gonna need him to have a game, like that Champions Classic game, man, versus Gonzaga if they're gonna have a chance, man. But I think they're gonna have the size down low to make it difficult on Timmy and on Chet. And if Roach and Trevor Keels come to play, they're gonna have a great shot. Obviously, Wendell Moore has gotten hot. Has played really well for them, in the past few games, man. He's now averaging 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, almost 6 dimes a game for them, man. I mean, he's had a great start, and he's taken a huge leap in his sophomore season down there. In the junior season down there at Duke, man. So I think his experience is gonna be key for them, man. But I'm really excited, man, for this matchup, man, to see what Keels, what Roach can do, man. Two DMV guys, man. Obviously playing on the biggest stage of college basketball now, and going up against that Gonzaga front line, and obviously Andrew Nembhard, who's one of the best point guards in the country.
Yeah, I think everybody, knows, it's no secret that Gonzaga is a elite offensive team, just given the pieces that they have. But I think the biggest thing that stood out to me about Gonzaga last night was their defense. I mean, they hold UCLA to 34% shooting from the field, 16% shooting from three. You hold Johnny Juzang in check, only 11 points, 5 for 11 from the field. Jaime Jaquez had 19 points. We had to shoot 22 times to get it, So I think, on the perimeter, they did a great job on defense. Obviously, having Chet Holmgren back there helps that a lot. When you have him at the basket and, he's out there blocking shots and altering shots. I think the big thing is, Chet Holmgren, he had 4 blocks last night. But the amount of shots that he altered, changed, and even just his presence at the rim, just him being down there a lot of times, guys didn't want to drive to the basket and things like that. So when you're looking forward to the matchup against Duke, I think that's going to be an important thing to watch, man, because, if Gonzaga can put together another defensive effort like they did against UCLA, I think it's going to be tough for Duke to beat them, man, because, these guys are going to score 85, 90 points in their sleep. So I think it's going to be incumbent upon Duke to be able to, take good shots, get into Chet's body early, try to get him, some early fouls and put him on the bench. I think that's their best bet.
Yeah, for sure, man. Shoot, if anybody can scheme around, definitely Coach K, man. Obviously, in his swan song, he can be looking for a statement win, man. So there's no bigger win right now than beating Gonzaga, man. So, that'll be a huge statement if they can, find a way to pull that off, man. And so we'll see what happens, man. I'm upset that game is either at Duke or at Gonzaga, man. How special would that be if this game was on one of those campuses, man? Could you imagine, the Cameron Crazies, going crazy with Gonzaga, coming to Cameron Indoor Stadium, man? That would be amazing. But this game is gonna be in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. Hopefully, they'll sell that place out, man. We know Gonzaga fans will, man, and Duke fans travel. So I'm expecting a raucous crowd for that game on Friday, man. It's gonna be a 10:30 p.m. tip. One more late tip, man. So Drew, I would advise a nap, on Friday, so you can make it through the night for that ball game.
Shoot, I'll try, man. I'll try my best, man. But think about it, Ace. Hey, Thursday in November, Vegas. Who doesn't want to be in Vegas, on Black Friday? You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be Friday, right? Do a little shopping, hit the casino. I don't think there's gonna be any problem, with Duke fans traveling out to Vegas. I might be up myself on a Friday night, just seeing what's going on out here in Portugal or somewhere. So I might end up catching that game. We'll see.
Hey, man, I hope you find a way to make it happen, man. And without further ado, man, that is gonna do it for this episode of the Auto Bin, man. My name is Aaron Robinson, and I am definitely want to thank you guys for joining us, man. And I want to remind you guys, as always, man, make sure you guys are liking our content, man. If you see us on Twitter, man, give us a retweet. Throw us a like on Twitter, man. If you're on Instagram, throw us a like, give us a reshare on your story, man. And then on Apple and on Spotify, man, make sure you guys are giving us a rating, man. Please, 5 stars only. Telling a friend, tell a friend about the good gospel of the Auto Bin, man. And make sure you guys are spreading that word, man. We are, the best mid-major podcast out here, man. We give it to you every week. So make sure you guys are tapping in with us, man. To get everything you need to know about mid-major college hoops, man. And last but not least, my guy Pull Up Tate. His project, Why Stop Now, is out on all platforms, man. Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube. So make sure you guys are tapping in with my guy Pull Up Tate's content, man. It's like I said, His new album, Why Stop Now, is out now. Make sure you guys go and get that, man. Give him some spins. And it's going to be him on the outro. So, until next time, folks, enjoy your week. Happy Thanksgiving, man. And make sure you guys eat plenty of food and enjoy the basketball that is to come, man. See you later.
You beating on me? I can tell. It's time to get a check, boy. You on the sideline, you ain't made the headlines. Now it's time to reject, boy. You beating on me? I can tell. What's the topic of discussion? What we talking about? Take your best shot, I'ma take the last shot. I'm Jordan in the clutch, boy. Yeah. I don't bet. Let's go. What's the topic of discussion?